Hello, this is Andrine, a Jewish American priestess, and today I am bringing you a reading in which we are going to try to tap into the messages from the ancestors. I've been getting a lot of draw toward that this recent time. Family of origin issues are unresolved, and I think the path to that is by listening to the messages of the ancestors, the well ones, the ones who have come before and are wise and loving and whole, in the belief that if we go far enough back, we can find ancestors who have wholeness within them and wisdom that can help us move forward. So to that end, we're going to be using some tarot cards from the Wildwood Tarot. We're going to do a reading with both the Nordic runes and the Hebrunes today. So let's get started with the cards. Let me set these off to the side. And today I'm going to choose 3 cards that will guide us into our readings. And at that point, we will find what the messages are from the ancestors that are calling into you today. If you are drawn to more than one card, please feel free to listen to more than one reading. And tap into yourself and your answers. I guess that's the first one. Tap into your ancestral line and ask the questions that you want to ask, or just be open to the messages that are coming in today from the ancestors. And this is a timeless reading, so you are welcome to it anytime you come upon it to listen to the messages coming down from the line. Here's card number 2. And let's pull one more card. What do the ancestors want to impart today? 3rd card. Okay. So let's see what we have today. Card number 1 is the 9 of Arrows, and it says dedication. 9 of Arrows. This is what this card looks like. Card number 2, we have the 8 of Bows, Hearthfire. And for card number 3, we have the Pole Star. So I invite you to take a moment to just to sit and breathe and listen in to what messages from the ancestors are coming in for you today, and follow that guidance to whichever one of these 3 cards is calling to you. Or again, if you are drawn to more than one or all 3, please feel free to listen. We do have many lines and many ancestors if we go back any length at all. So, and feel free to come back and choose a different card at a different time if you're drawn to do so. And I will look forward to seeing you in your reading. I'll put the timestamps down below to make it easy to jump straight there. Hello, card number 1. So you've chosen the 9 of Arrows, which is listed as dedication. Let's take a closer look at this card. You can see that it is a feminine figure. She is holding a bow as well as an arrow. And if you look a little closer, you can see that she seems to be very peaceful. She's using this bow. The arrow, it's interesting, she's using the arrow as a bow, interestingly, as an instrument, like if she's playing this bow as an instrument, the bowstring. That's amusing to me as a person who has spent time with string players. You use the bow to play the instrument, not the arrow. But in this case, that is reversed. And she looks incredibly at peace here, despite all these arrows around her, which are being deflected by some kind of force that we can't see. I notice that she is standing on the earth. There's wood nearby. Her robes are blue, which is sort of symbolic of the celestial, the sky, but her tunic is red, which is symbolic of more human or carnal or fire. Traditionally, arrows correspond to swords cards. So if you're familiar at all with the traditional Nine of Swords, it's a card of worry and fear and paranoia even. But in this case, this is a warrior, a spiritual warrior. You can see that she is deflecting the arrows, again, by some unseen force, that she is taking the time to use the arrow she has in her hand as an instrument to bring about some kind of calm or peace. So the message, and the word on the card is dedication. So she's dedicated. She's dedicated to her craft, which seems to be playing this bow with her arrow. This instrument of, I would say, potential injury and death, but she's using it as a harp almost, or as a stringed instrument, where she is bringing peace and deflecting the damaging arrows that are coming at her in a way that is effective. And I love this idea of dedication. If we dedicate ourselves to the art that brings us peace, that we can deflect the arrows that are coming at us, rather than living in fear and worry all the time. So that's the basic message that this card is bringing in from the ancestors. And as I sit here with this, what I'm hearing is you have the capacity to use the tools at hand to bring about peace, even if they are intended initially for destruction or hunting. That you have the ability to take the tools that have been given to you by the ancestors, perhaps, to bring peace in your life, rather than assuming that they have to cause harm or that they will harm you. Those arrows have come toward this figure, and she's using her own arrow to deflect them. And I love this. I love this message of dedication, that you have the ability to be dedicated to something that is peace, that is wholeness, and regardless of what's coming at you, regardless of where you see those arrows coming in from nowhere, if you are dedicated to your craft, what draws you forward, what gives you passion in life, then you can ward them off. And that there's dedication perhaps in the past from the ancestors themselves that toward protecting you. Again, these unseen forces that have taken it upon themselves to take those arrows that are coming at this figure and turn them away with, her eyes are closed. She can't even see them coming. So I love this. I love that there's dedication both coming from the ancestors as well as your own dedication toward creating wholeness and peace. We're going to start out by pulling 3 Hebrunes and then 3 Nordic runes to get a sense of what the message is further. And today I'm using the Myrtle Hebrunes. Okay, at the top we have the letter He. In the center we have the letter Shin. And at the bottom we have the letter Dalet. And I'm going to take the Nordic runes also before we start doing the reading, and then we'll put it all together. On the Nordic rune side, on the top, we have the letter Ingwas. In the center, we have the letter Hagalaz. And at the bottom, we have the letter Ansuz. Okay, starting at the top left, we have the letter He. And the letter He begins the word Hineni, which means here I am. It's about presence. It's about showing up and becoming ready for service. And I think that's the strong message from the ancestors here, is that we need to show up for ourselves, to be, again, dedicated to whatever it is that we are crafting, whatever it is we are creating in the world, whether that be physical manifestation, emotional, or spiritual, that we need to show up and say, here I am, ready for service to whatever the calling is. In Hebrew, that's to the divine, that we hear the voice or the call of the divine, we hear our name, and at that point we say, Hineni, here I am, ready for service. And sometimes we don't get the message about what it is we're supposed to do until we say that here I am word, Hineni. It's about availability, about being willing to listen to the divine, to listen to the messages coming to you from the universe, from the ancestors in this case, and being able to act, or choosing to act. The He also corresponds to the sense of sight. In the Sefer Yetzirah, the book of creation, which describes each of the letters, the letter He is dedicated to the sense of sight. So being able to see our way forward. I think that really interesting in that our character in this card has their eyes closed, because it's not always about seeing physically. It's not about seeing with our eyes. It's about being able to see, listen, and feel into what is we are being called to do. The letter He corresponds to the month of Nisan, which is in the spring, and it's the constellation of Aries. So Aries is about being headstrong and being stubborn and being dedicated, in fact, to whatever it is that one is doing. So making a choice to show up, making a choice to say, I'm ready for whatever is coming, and then holding on to that, remaining dedicated to the course. He also corresponds to the liver in the body. The liver, which is the organ that filters the blood. It filters and helps the body to remove toxins from whatever has come in. So if something very damaging has come into the body, it's filtered through the liver, and then that liver helps us to stay healthy. So it's about discernment in some ways too. It's about saying, here I am, and then discerning what it is we need to do to move forward without putting ourselves in harm's way. And the liver is, in Hebrew is the word keved, which is the same root as the word kavod, which is about glory and honor and gravitas. So there's something really weighty about it. The liver is the heaviest organ in the body. So we have this idea of gravitas, something heavy, something important. We are being called to service, and it is time to show up and remain dedicated on the course as we move forward. On the right side, on the Nordic rune side, we have the letter Ingwas, which is, let's bring it closer because it's a little hard to see. Ingwas is a seed. It's dedicated to the god Ing, who is the fertility god. So it's about fertility. It's about planting a seed. It's about active creation. It's about like the masculine active creation. It's gestation and growth and internal life. It's this taking what you have and using it for what you will. So in this case, this figure has this bow and arrow, and instead of using it for harm, they're using it to produce some kind of music, or maybe it's even a bow drill, like a fire, but I don't see fire and smoke here. I see peace and this instrument, really about making music. So she's using the tools at hand, as I said earlier, to create something that she desires, despite the arrows coming at her, despite the situation which could be potentially harmful. She's using the tools at hand to create what she wishes, which is wholeness and peace in this case. And the dedication to her craft is allowing that to happen, using the power of creation, using the power of the seed, using that sort of yang energy to look about and see, like I said with the hay, what is available, and then using that toward your purposes. So that's what's up right now. These top positions are what is currently up in the situation. And I'm seeing showing up and using what you have to create what you'd like to see. In the center on the left side, this is the position of our fear or challenge. And we have the letter Shin. Shin is the mother letter of fire. And as I said, she's wearing this red mantle, which would indicate fire, and bows are about fire, but arrows are about air. So Shin is fire. It is the mother letter of creation, of the stars of the sky, the sun and the moon. All the lights of the sky are contained within the Shin. It's also about spirit. The word in Hebrew for fire is Aish, and it's got that sh sound in it, but it's about spirit, the fire of spirit and fiery thoughts. It's the head in the body. So thoughts and passion and moving forward with great force, great passion, like a fire. And it could be a passion of love, or it could be a passion of anger, or some kind of even passion of hate. But we have this passion, this fire, this flame that is in the position of what's a challenge and what is our fear. And I think this is great because she's showing very much peace. Like again, although these these arrows are coming at her, she's choosing peace. Interestingly, Shin is also the first letter of the word shalom, which means peace or wholeness. So the challenge is when the fire is coming at you, when you're being fired at, or you're having this enormous amount of passion thrown at you or rising up within you, the thoughts that come and the fears and the anger, you can turn that to wholeness. You can turn it because also Shin is the first letter of the word shuva, which means to turn or to return. And so we have this duplicity here of the passion, the fire, and the return, and the peace, and Shekhinah, the indwelling presence of the divine, which is the feminine divine. And she has all this power, the Shekhinah, which begins also with Shin, and she has the ability to bring peace. So our fear or challenge is here, perhaps there's too much coming at us. Maybe there's too much anger, there's too much passion, there's too much fire, too much thought. And our job is to turn that thought to shuva, into shalom, into peace and wholeness. And again, get out of our heads, perhaps. I mean, as I said, her eyes are closed. She looks very peaceful. She's not being consumed by fears. She's not being consumed by overthinking. She's just listening and tapping into her source, into her spirit. It is, again, about fire, about sun, about all these fiery objects in the sky. And so maybe things have been a little intense recently, that there's been some kind of fire or something that is flared up. And it's our job to take the time to turn that, to tshuva that into shalom. Also, interestingly, over on the right side, we have the Nordic rune of Hagalaz. And Hagalaz is the hailstorm. It's that wild chaos of nature that just comes at us out of nowhere and seems to be out of control. And the trick about Hagalaz is that it is about wildness and nature and hailstorms coming at us with the ice and just pelting away at us a little by little, taking our peace. But it's also nature. It's just weather. Things come and things go. So when the storm comes up, sometimes we need to buckle down and find our peace within it. And I see that happening right here in this card of dedication, where she is got these arrows coming at her from all directions, like the hailstorm, like the chaos that comes. It's this disruption of the power and the wildness and the wrath maybe of nature, uncontrolled forces that, again, feeling powerless, feeling out of control here. But what she's done with it in the card is to find her inner peace, to in fact grab one of those arrows and use it as a tool to create some kind of beautiful music, some kind of protection for herself. So yeah, there's chaos happening for sure. Both sides, Shin and Hagalaz, are both about sort of passionate, wild, crazy chaos. But we have the ability to, within that storm, find our center, like the eye of the hurricane, just really find our peace there and weather it until the weather passes, and then we'll come through it out the other side, ideally. So on both sides, we've got this this chaos that's coming up, this wild, passionate, uncontrolled. On the one side, it's ice, and on the other side, it's fire. But they can still cause the same kind of damage coming at us, like an arrow. I think that's really fascinating that we have both of those on either side here. On the left side, we have the Hebrew letter of Dalet as our outcome or advice, and it is the letter that represents a doorway. So it's about transition. Something is coming that will be a transition space, a liminal space, as we weather whatever it is that's coming at us right now. These arrows, as they come, as they fly, they can't last forever. It's the idea of a gate. And there's some humility here as well. The word dal in Hebrew means poor, somebody who's a poor one. So finding humility, sometimes I think of it in terms of ducking one's head as you walk through the doorway so that you don't hit your head on the top of it. And so we have to come through the doorway, and we have to come through with humility. Dalet is also known as the binary transformation of wisdom and foolishness. So there's a continuum on which foolishness is on one end and wisdom is on the other. And somewhere on that line we rest. Where is that place? How do we walk through the doorway or the gateway with wisdom, without fear necessarily, or without rushing forward, without thinking about what's going to happen as we head through that door? And so it's about thresholds, and it's about humbleness and liminal spaces between, the transitions between one place and the other. I think about Dalet as corresponding to the death card in tarot, because it is about transitions and big transitions, moving from one situation to the next, moving from one world to another. So it's a big transition. It's a death-like transition, not necessarily literal death. Although, in a situation where you've got arrows coming at you, maybe, but hopefully not. Hopefully you have been able to make peace with whatever is going on. So whatever the doorway is, whether it is a doorway just to a new living space, a new relationship, a new position in business, whatever the case is here, you can find peace with that transition from where you are now in the showing up part to where you're moving next. And we don't know what that is right now. That's the thing about a Dalet, is it's a doorway. We can't often see what's on the other side. But if we can move through it with wisdom and with grace, then we will be at peace on the other side as well. So I think that's what I'm seeing here on this side, is show up as we have the fire coming at us, try to find peace and the presence of the divine within the situation, and then step through the door, whatever it is. Because like I said, when we say Hineni, when we show up for the divine, we don't always get to know where we're going. We just get shown the door, and then we're asked to step through it. And that's the message on the Hebrew side, is step through that doorway when you see it. When you are called, show up, say, here I am. When the arrows come at you, find a way to turn that into a place of peace, and step through the doorway when it appears to you on the other side of that chaos. On the Nordic rune side, we have the letter Ansuz. Pull that up here so you can see it. Ansu's is the letter that is like the chief god. It's Odin in Nordic mythology. And so it's about speaking, about hearing the voice and listening, and speaking your own truth. It's about inspiration, self-knowledge, and true vision. So being able to see what's true. So it's interestingly got a correspondence with the hey at the top here. Hearing the voice of the divine, hearing your inner voice, and following that toward your self-knowledge, being inspired on some level to by the voices of the divine and of your own higher self within to move forward. And again, to speak what is true for you. So on the Nordic rune side, we have the seed that's being planted using the resources that are available to make what it is we need to make, to grow what it is we need to grow. Even though there's a hailstorm coming at us, even though those arrows are being shot at us, it's important to know that that's a temporary situation, that that is the weather that's happening right now, and that when we come through that, you will be able to hear the voice of the divine. You'll be able to hear what it is your higher self is telling you to do, and then speak your truth as well. Speak what is true for you in the situation. And that's about dedication as well, being dedicated to listening to the divine, being able to, again, see what you're being shown, see that doorway when it's time to go through it. And the chaos is really distracting sometimes, but I love that in this card, this dedication card, this 9 of arrows, that the figure is not even looking at the arrows. She's taking her own arrow and her own bow and using it to create something beautiful amidst the chaos, to find peace within the arrows flying around her and remaining dedicated to her craft, remaining dedicated to her path, so that when she gets to the doorway, she'll find her way through, so that when she gets out the other side of the hailstorm, she'll be able to hear the voice of the divine, to hear the calling that's been given to her back at the beginning, and step through the doorway, using the tools at hand to create peace. So I love this message from your ancestors, and I hope that you can take it to heart. I am going to certainly take it to heart as well. And I appreciate you coming along with me on the journey. I hope you like and subscribe to this channel if you enjoyed this reading, and I will look forward to seeing you here next time. Hello, card number 2. You chose the 8 of Bows, Hearthfire. Let's take a closer look at your card. In this card, we have a group of 8 characters who are coming together around a giant bonfire, Hearthfire, to celebrate and enjoy each other's company. You can see they are each carrying their bows, and they are lifting their glasses and clapping each other on the back. And they are enjoying their time together in celebration at this Hearthfire, which I love that. I mean, in terms of messages from the ancestors, it's as if we're being told it's a time to come together and find warmth amongst our tribe. And our tribes, you know, can be a family of origin, and they can be created family or new families and tribes to which we have found our way in our life. Sometimes our families of origins are not our tribe, although if we go back far enough, I am again trying to believe that there is health and wholeness and there's healing available for us there. But at this time of year, at this time where you're finding this reading, whenever this is, find a way to gather around a hearthfire. A hearthfire is a place that connotes home. It connotes a tribal gathering place, usually in a home or around a camp. And it could be, you know, proto buildings, like you're coming together in this way around your tent community, or in some way to just come together to cook a meal and share with each other. Again, raise a glass of joy and see each other's laughing faces and tell wonderful stories of your adventures. And I think this is beautiful. The bows, of course, represent fire in the tarot, and they're the wands, and I think of them also in terms of magic wands. So wands are the things that if you rub together, you get fire, and it's also the storage method of trees, where it takes in sunlight, creates structure from the air and sunlight, and stores that potential energy within it. And then when we burn it, the fire comes. The sun returns out of the wood. And I just love that's like a physical thing that happens in our world. Trees are amazing. So tap into the trees, tap into your roots. Maybe this is what we're hearing from the ancestors. Go back to your roots and find the tribal ancestral places where you can find joy and community together at this time when you are finding this reading. We're also going to pull out some Hebrunes and some Nordic runes. Let's start with the Hebrunes. At the top of our reading, we have the letter Tet. In the center, we have the letter Kuf. And at the bottom of our reading, we have the letter Ain. Okay. Let's see what the Nordic runes bring out as well. So on the right side, at the top of our reading, I've got two in my hand. Let's see, we pull them both. Okay, so at the top, we're getting the letter Iwaz. And in the center, we have the letter Tiwaz. And at the bottom, we have Algiz. Very nice. So starting at the top left, we have the letter Tet. And the letter Tet in Hebrew is the letter that means a cup or a vessel. You can see it looks a little bit like a cup with an opening at the top and that cupped shape. And it is the first letter of the word Tov, Tov, which means good. So right now, this is the position of what's happening right now in your life. We have something good that's happening, a vessel that is containing that goodness within it. And, like the vessel that this character is holding up on the card, a toast, we've got this good thing within. Tet is sometimes seen as a basket or a vat. It could be a cauldron of some sort, or it can be a womb space as well. Tet is the number 9 in Gematria, and so on some level it corresponds to the 9 months of gestation in the human body. So something gestating, something is boiling in that cauldron, something is really taking its time to come into fruition, but the thing that will come from it is good. And so we have this vessel full of goodness that we can dip into and drink out of and celebrate with. That maybe there's a gestation period, but whatever the case is, it's a good thing that's coming in the end. The letter Tet is about renewal. It's about something being reborn, and not just, birth for sure. It's not just birth, it's also rebirth. So we have this renewal that's happening in this coming together, that we have this hearthfire. And in the lighting of the hearthfire, we have people coming back together. It's a return of some sort. It's that renewal of connection, renewal of community. The Tet is sometimes affiliated with the snake. It looks like, you can see it looks a little bit like a snake as well, the snake that coils inside the basket. And snakes are known to shed their skin in order to renew themselves. And so there is this connotation of renewal, of bringing things back around together. And I love this in terms of your Hearthfire card, that we have an opportunity to renew our connections. Renew our connections with our family if need be, or our friends or our family of choice. And also reach back and renew our connections to our wise ones, our ancients that are whole and protecting us right now, as we gather together around the hearth fire, knowing that we need that community, and we need that protection in order to find the goodness within. Tet is connected to the sense of taste. So as we come together and we eat and we drink and we cook with fire, then we have that ability to savor and really enjoy both physical taste of wonderful food and drink, but also of the deliciousness of coming together with people who are like-minded and who actually love us and who bring us joy in the world. On the Nordic runes side, we have the letter Iwas. Iwas is the yew tree. It's this representation of a tree, and as we're doing with bows here, we're talking about wood. We're talking about the potential for both growth as well as fire. And I love that trees have that all within them. The yew tree is about stability. It's about patience and perseverance. It's about personal power and the strength that one has to endure a thing. So on the right side with the Nordic runes, it's about being patient to find maybe your tribe. Maybe it's time to search out a new tribe, even if the one that you were born into doesn't resonate. That chime is my random chime that tells me that this is the divine here speaking, and I love it. It feels like an exclamation point on whatever it is I've just said when it comes up in a reading. So yeah, maybe it's time to look for a new tribe, or to reach out and find something, to persevere until you find your people. It's not that the people that you have surrounded yourself with or have surrounded you are necessarily the right ones, and you don't have to stick that out. But maybe it's time to really persevere until you find your correct tribe. You don't have to endure suffering, and you don't have to endure abuse, certainly, if the family that you are in right now is not serving. But it may be time to branch out with this yew tree, to branch out and find the newness, find the spark. When you see somebody that you connect with that spark and that hearth fire, connect with them and test it out and wait it out to see if they are the right person. And if they're not, walk away. I mean, that's what I'm seeing here. We have this gestation period on the left side, and we have this endurance rune on the right side. So it's about enduring. It's about being patient and stable until the thing comes to fruition. So if you are not currently in your tribe, do not fear. You will find it. You just have to persevere, is what I'm hearing. That's the message that's coming to me right now through these two letters in light of this Hearthfire card. So if you're listening to that right now, especially with that additional chime, random chime to say, yes, this is true. Persevere. Be diligent and wait for your tribe. They are coming for you. They are coming, and you will find them. And when you do, you'll have community. On the left side, in the center is the position of what is our challenge right now. And we have the letter Kuf. The letter Kuf, which is the letter that, it has this kind of binary, challenge, this paradox. It has this paradox of both being the letter that begins the word kadosh, which means sacred and holy, and the word that is klipa, meaning shells or shards. So we have the divine light, and we have the shards of the vessels that broke when it tried to hold the divine light. We have this idea of sacredness, which is dedication to service to the divine, and we have the idea of the animal nature. You can see it has a little tail like a monkey. So there's this animalistic nature that can sometimes get in the way of our sacredness. But if we can see that our animal nature is sacred, then maybe we can combine those two things, that idea of sacredness and humanity, together. So the challenge here is finding the balance between that which is sacred and those shards or shells that are maybe causing us some irritation in our life. We have the beautiful Hearthfire that is bursting up and giving us warmth and security and friendship and wholeness, and there are sparks that may jump out. Maybe the embers jump out and they sting us. So those kind of shards and shells that are harming us are also part of the whole situation that is causing us the joy and the warmth of coming together. So we have to find the way to balance here when we find ourselves in a situation that is maybe a little sharp, maybe not seeming like it has any redeeming holiness or sacredness within it. But the reality is, in my minhag, my tradition, that everything is made up of divinity. The good, the bad, and the ugly. All of it is made up of the same stuff, which is divinity. And sometimes it's really, really difficult to see the divinity in a situation that is sharp or is seemingly unsacred. So that's the challenge, is finding that that maybe within community there's some rough edges that are rubbing together. But when rough edges rub together, they become smooth, ideally. Again, that does not mean you have to stay in a situation that is harmful. Absolutely do not do that. But be aware that if one can see the divinity in everything, it makes it easier to manage our situation. Sometimes we need to see that divinity in a thing from a very great distance so that we don't harm ourselves. And so find the balance there with the kuf. Find the balance between that which is sacred and that which is sharp. And know that they're made up of the same stuff, but you do not have to endure the injury that comes. You just need to distance yourself and find your own sacred path. On the right side in the Nordic runes column, we have the letter Tiwaz, and Tiwaz is connected with the god Tyr. Tyr is the warrior god. So it can have to do with war, but it also is about duty and about justice. It's about finding justice and bringing justice about in a situation. So Tiwaz is a complicated letter in the same way that Kuf is a complicated letter. That it has this duality of war, but also duty and justice. And sometimes those are hard to discern. And so the challenge here on the right side is finding what is appropriate duty to yourself, maybe to your community, to your family, to your ancestors, without putting yourself in harm's way. There may be some contention, like I said, some irritation, some irritability that's going on that's challenging you right now. Maybe in large groups of people coming together, maybe in groups of family of origin, maybe our ancestors are trying to say, yes, there is this irritation, this difficulty, this war situation, this argument situation or conflict of some sort. But there's also the warrior aspect of it that gets you through a situation, that stands up for what is right and just, and that fulfills the duty not to an individual or to an empty tradition, but to what is true and real, and what is sacred, what is holy, what is the right thing to do, rather than just what is expected of you in a situation. So that's the challenges here. They're, again, really similar and a little bit different. That there is this concept of justice and duty that but you have to be sure that you're standing up for the duty that is authentic to yourself and not to some, again, empty promise or empty tradition. Finding the way to locate the sacred within the conflict, perhaps. And as we come to the bottom of our reading, on the left side, we have the letter Ayin. Ayin is the position of what is the outcome or the advice for our situation. And we have the letter Ayin, which means an eye. And so it's about seeing and being able to see your way forward, and also about being watched over. It's a completion letter because it is the number 70, and there are 7 days in creation. And this is 10 times that. So something large is coming to an end, something really big. The Ayin is about seeing your way forward, but also being watched over, knowing that you are watched over. And when we're talking about this from an ancestral point, I'm hearing that our ancestors are watching over us, our well ones, our wise ones, the ones who are whole, are watching over our situation, and they're trying to help us see our way forward. And I love that because it does. It has this number, the number 70 has all these connotations that have to do with large groups of people. We have the 70 descendants of Noah who, came from the people who survived the ark and the flood. We have the 70 members of Jacob's tribe that went down to Egypt. And we have the 70 elders of Moses and the 70 seats on the Sanhedrin. So it's got all these different connotations of large groups of people coming together. And they're not always healthy. Large groups of people are very difficult to manage. But we can see our way forward. We can know that we're watched over by the divine, by our ancestors, by the well ones, the wise ones who came before us. Ayin is the letter that's correspondent with the month of Tevet. And right now, as I'm doing this reading, we're going to be going into Tevet in about 2 weeks. And week and a half or so. Tevet is the darkest time of year. So ironically, we have the letter that is about seeing in the dark, about being able to see our way forward to the turning from darkness to light. So something is coming to an end. Something is coming to a close, and we will be able to see our way forward into the next thing, whatever that is. And I love this because we have something that started out with good and gestation, and then we go into this place of holiness. And as we come out with vision and the ability to move forward. This gestation time perhaps is coming to an end. Ayin is also affiliated with the tribe of Dan, and Dan is the name that means judgment. So some kind of judgment. We'll have some kind of resolution, let's say, that comes out of our situation here. This Hearthfire situation where we're coming together with large group of like-minded people, possibly family of choice, and we'll have some kind of resolution. We'll be able to know how to see our way forward when we get there. And fascinatingly, on the right side with the Nordic runes, we have the Nordic rune of Algiz, and Algiz is known as the elk or the moose. You can see it looks a little bit like an antler. It also is a sedge elk sedge, which is a kind of grass with really sharp edges. So Algiz is about protection. It's about being protected and watched over, just like Ayin is. So fascinating and exciting that you are being protected. Whatever the situation is that you are in, you are being protected and watched over. That you can endure the situation with the Iwas. That you can make it through the conflict that's happening with the Tewas and get through to the other side where you know that you are protected, that you are watched over, that even if there's sharp edges on it, you can know that the divine, that the ancestors, that those who came before are here to protect you. The deer, the elk are protecting you. It's a higher level of protection, that there's a connection with the divine, connection with the gods here. Algiz is very, very powerful shield. It's a shield and defense against whatever might harm you. And maybe it's that coming together, finding your community, waiting it out until you find your tribe. And when you do, you will feel protected and watched over, that you will know that you are surrounded by people who are there for you, regardless of what's going on. And whether that's a physical family, or whether, again, that's the ancestors that you are reaching back to find the well, healthy, and whole ones, you will be protected here. So endurance, really up here. Stick it out. Find your tribe. Know that they are out there looking for you as well. When you find conflict in the situation, when you find this difficulty discerning between that which is sacred and that which is sharp or animalistic, feeling very, base, the conflict is that there is divinity within it, that there's justice within it, that you might be able to step back far enough that you can see where there is wholeness, but perhaps you need to just distance yourself enough from it, is what I'm hearing from the ancestors. And then when you do, you'll come out on the other side. You'll be able to see your way forward. Know that you're watched over. Know that protection is here for you and that your tribe is surrounding you, whether you can see them or not. Your ancestors, who are so proud of you to have survived this long and made it to where you are right now, are standing around and cheering for you. And if you can sit still long enough and wait to hear their voices, you'll be able to hear and feel that protection, to feel that warmth, that hearth fire that is there burning for you if you can just find your way forward and wait it out until you get there. And when you do, the completion will come, you'll feel the protection, and you will be whole. So for those of you who chose the Eight of Bows, Hearthfire today, a really exciting message for you from the ancestors. I'm so happy that you listened in today and that you're finding your way, enduring what you need to endure to get to the place of protection, because it will be worth it. There's that chime again saying, yes, it will be worth it. So thanks for listening. If you like, please like and subscribe to this channel, and I will look forward to seeing you here again next time. Hello, card number 3. Those of you who chose the pole star, let's take a look at your card here. It's number 17. It's the star card, and in this case, it's the North Pole, like the Polaris. I guess it's the North Star. So it's finding guidance here. You can see the star up in the sky with all of these other stars, or looks like meteors actually. Comets maybe going around it. We have a deep, dark forest, and in it is a path. The path where this person is walking forward into the woods, but lit up. You can see how bright it is on that path, lit up by that star. The pole star is about hope and guidance and finding your way forward toward the thing that you are called to do. I love this. And for the ancestors, as far as a reading, a message from the ancestors here, what I'm seeing with the pole star is find the guidance. You have that guidance there for you, perhaps from the ancestors in part, from the divine, from your ability to tap into the direction, be able to see the path forward. And sometimes, again, at night or in the dark woods, it's difficult to see very far ahead. But if we can keep our eye on that star, if we can keep our eye on the guidance that we are being given each step by our ancestors, by the divine, then we will find our way forward into even the thickest of the woods here. And we can walk forward without fear, without any other light. You'll notice that this character is not holding a lantern. They're just walking by the light of the star. And I love that. I love that for you. I love that message for you from the ancestors, that you have this guiding light if you can just tap into it and find it. So let's pull out some Hebrunes first, and then we'll pull out some Nordic runes as well. At the top, we have the letter Kuf. In the center, we have the letter Het. And at the bottom, we have the letter Nun. On our Nordic rune side, let's see what comes out. We have the letter Tiwaz. Fascinating. In the center, we have the letter Perthro. And at the bottom, we have the letter Ansuz. Okay, so on the Hebrew side, at the very top, we have the letter Kuf. And the letter Kuf is the letter that begins the word kadosh. Kadosh meaning sacredness or holiness, it's sometimes translated as, but sacredness in terms of what is dedicated to divine service. It's not about things being inherently sacred. You can have anything and it can be used for something profane, but if you dedicate that toward the divine, toward divine service, that makes it kadosh. And the divine is inherently sacred. So that's what our current situation is here at the top. Sacredness is up. Something sacred. You are on a sacred path. You are following a sacred guidance. And that is beautiful. Kuf also has this paradoxical meaning, which is that which is animalistic. You can see that it's got a little bit of a monkey tail there. So it has this, kof is the word for monkey in Hebrew. And so it's got this monkey nature as well, monkey being like an animal, right? So how can we balance that which is sacred and that which is animalistic? It's also the first letter of the word klipa meaning shells or shards. So there's an old story in Judaism that the divine had to create space, so they sequestered their light into these vessels, but the vessels were not strong enough to hold the divine light, so they shattered. So out in the universe is now divine light everywhere, and these shards of these shells that are also sharp and causing maybe some discomfort in our lives. So what's up right now is this desire to find that which is sacred or follow that which is sacred, the sacred path that you are on, the sacred star that you are following, and also be aware of your animal nature. Be aware that your animal nature is sacred. Be aware that the shells and shards themselves are sacred. They are uncomfortable, but they are also made up of divinity. So that's what I'm hearing from the ancestors. Tap into your sacredness, tap into that holiness, and be aware that all the discomforts and difficulties that you find on your path are also sacred as you move forward. On the Nordic runes side, we have the letter Tiwaz, which is affiliated with the god Tyr. Tyr is the warrior god. So again, conflict, something that's uncomfortable. On the other hand, Tiwaz is also the letter that denotes justice and duty. So your duty maybe is to follow this path, that you are called to follow this path, that you have to find what is just and right in the world, despite the conflict, despite the war that's happening either within you or outside of you. That this is what's up right now. And fascinating to me, both of these letters showed up in the previous reading, the second card reading. So if you're drawn to that one, you might go back and listen to that one as well. So, and they showed up exactly opposite each other as well. So we've got this idea of the Kuf, which is about sacredness, following our sacred path in this case, and Tiwaz, which is there's some kind of conflict that's happening and some kind of duty that we are called toward. And we need to reconcile and balance both of those things, and that's our current situation. In the center, on the left side, we have the letter Chet, and this is the position of what is our challenge or fear in the situation. Our challenge or fear, Chet is the first letter of the word Chai, which means life. It's life. Life is a challenge. It's a difficult path. It's a difficult journey. Het is also the first letter of the word choshek, which means darkness. So finding life and knowing that life includes darkness, as this character walks on this path right into the dark woods, you can know that there's a shining light to follow. The conflict here and the fear here is walking into the darkness, and also possibly about commitments. So Chet is the first letter of the word chuppah, which means marriage canopy, and you can see it looks a little bit like a marriage canopy, so it can be about contracts and commitments as well, or about covenants that one makes with God, with the divine itself. It's the number 8, so it has this infinity loop associated with it, and 8 being one more than 7, 7 being the number of days of creation. It calls to the infinite. You are being drawn forward into something that's infinite, and it's a little bit scary. It's unknown. The infinite is difficult. And the darkness is difficult. So that's the challenge right here. Walking into the darkness, knowing that life is a challenge, and also the unknown, the infinite. But the infinite is also the divine. So finding a way through, even though there's fear, even though there's a challenge there, knowing that this also represents divinity. On the right side, we have the Nordic rune of Perthro. I'll pull that up so you can see it. It's known as the cup or the lot box. It is that which exists already, but is unknown. So it's a game piece that one would use in gambling. It's like dice, maybe. So you use this cup to shake up your dice and toss them out. So that unknown, it's coming to see something that you didn't know was there, but that's been there the whole time. And that's a fear or a challenge. Maybe this path, which has been here the whole time, but you didn't know it was there. Maybe there's something that's appeared on the path that's an obstacle that has been there all along, but you hadn't seen it until now. That's the fear or challenge on the Nordic rune side. Darkness, the infinite, the unknown in both cases of the lot box, of something that was in that box the whole time, but we didn't even know it was there. And then now it's been revealed. So we have some fear or concern around that. That's what's a challenge right now. The unknown, the darkness, the obstacle that's appearing right now. Maybe that commitment that we made or that we didn't even know we made, but is there nonetheless. So our ancestors are saying, yeah, that's life. That's the lot. That's the fate of you. You have this thing, this path that you've been called to, this light that you are called to follow. And it's scary because we don't know what it's going to turn out to be. And that's valid. That's entirely valid. On the left side, in our position of what's our outcome or our advice, we have the letter Nun. And the letter Nun is the letter that you can see, it looks a little bit like somebody who is kneeling and bent, bowed over. It's the letter that begins the word Ne'aman, which means humble or humility. So our advice here is to remain humble. Remain humble in the face of this challenge and as we go into the darkness. Remain humble into knowing that we have to follow that star, that we can't just wander off on some path that we don't know or it's unfamiliar. We have to follow the guiding light in order to get where we're going. And Nun is also the first letter of the word Nes, Nes meaning miracle. So we have a miracle here that's about to occur, but we need to remain humble in order to see it. That if we can find that which is sacred, follow the path and the light, that we can make it through the darkness, make it through with these commitments, find our way through our life with humility, and we come to the miracle at the end here. And on the right side, we have the letter Ansuz, and Ansuz is the letter that represents Odin, the big god, the chief god. So it's about communication. It's about speaking and hearing the voice of the divine within and hearing our higher selves, finding our guidance on that path. So listening and hearing the voice of the God, hearing the voice of the divine within you. That is that star. That's the guiding light. That if we can get through with our duties and commitments and even with the conflicts that we're dealing with, travel through the challenge of the unknown, then we'll come out and we'll be able to hear the voice. We'll be able to see our way through it and hear the guidance that we're receiving from our ancestors, from the divine, from whatever higher self that we're listening to. If we can really spend the time, maybe in humility, maybe in silence for a little while, then we'll be able to hear that voice, to hear that guidance and follow that light, get our way through the darkness, through the path, and we'll find our way and know what to do next. So again, finding sacredness, being in this position of balancing the sacred with the profane, knowing that even though there's conflict, there's also justice and duty, that we need to find our way through the darkness and the infinite, the unknown, this lot box of something that is been there all along and now we're just seeing it, our fate. We can find our way through to humility and the miracle, listening and finding the voice of the divine and following that path. Our path laid out for us by our ancestors. The path that if we can hear the voices within us from our past, from the current situation through with the divinity, we will be able to follow that star to where we're going, wherever that is. We may not know where it is because, again, we have the lot box and we have the infinite here, but we know it's the right path, and that's the important thing right now. So for those of you who chose the pole star today, this has been your reading. Again, if you're drawn to any of the other readings, you might want to go back and listen to them as well. I appreciate you being here, being open to the voices of the ancestors as they speak to you through these cards and Hebrunes and runes. And I will look forward to seeing you here next time. Please like and subscribe if you like. And I will see you next time.